everyone, it's Pam from GlamJunkJournals, and today we are continuing on our junk journal start to finish, and I'm just going to recap what we did last time in the last video. So I have my 3 signatures here, and what I've done is I've clipped each together, as you can see here. Now what I did off camera, because I didn't want to bore you guys to death just sewing around borders, but let me show you what I did and then we're going to continue on. This is just basically to give you guys some ideas on how I begin to embellish my pages, and this is all before we attach the pages or the signatures into the journal. And I like to do a lot of it ahead of time, like what I said before, because I like to sew on a lot of things. I just find it's easier than after it's sewn into the journal cover. Although I will add more, I've just found that it's easier to do some of it ahead of time. So what I did off camera is, as you guys remember, each of the signatures is going to be either tied with a ribbon or a piece of lace. What I did, take the cover off here, is I just sewed down the middle and added the ribbon so that it stays in place. And I did, you know, the length half on each side. So that's pretty easy. And on the inside, I did create one of my, these are from my ephemera making series, and these are using paint chips, and I'll link the video at the bottom. This was something that I came up with a couple months ago, and basically what it is, it's a whole bunch of paint chips layered with some of the fabric and the lace that is used in this particular journal, and then I added some of my fake flower leaves, which I love to do from my stash. So if you want a detailed guide on how to make these, go to my other tutorial in my ephemera making series on paint chips. And then I sewed around the whole thing, and I added a little bit of yellow lace along the outside, which has also been sewn on. And on the inside I just did a couple stamps with some flowers. So that's what I did on that page. And keep this all together. Let's see if there's anything else I did. Oh yeah, on this page, this is another piece of heavier cardstock. I sewed a scrap of lace around on one side and sewed all the way around the edges. And then let's see what else we did. This is the middle of the signature. What I did off camera is I did create 2 vertical belly bands. This is basically a piece of fabric that I layered some lace on top of and a piece of wallpaper, and I just sewed all the way around the edges of the page. And so we've got pockets on each side, and then if you want, each of these pieces is a place to add some ephemera. So we've got the wallpaper, we've got a little bit wider piece of lace, and then the still wider piece of fabric, the ticking fabric. So that's what I did there. And like I said in my last video, I do like to sew around all the pages, and I do it mostly on the heavier pieces of cardstock and scrapbook paper. I don't do it on the magazine pages and the journaling pages. And then on the other side of that piece of scrapbook paper, the heavier duty cardstock paper, I did sew another piece of scrap lace. So that is all for that signature. So I'll move that out of the way. Let me see what we did in this one. Probably the same kind of deal here. So on the inside of this one, I did do the same thing on each of the covers. I positioned my lace or my ribbon right in the center and sewed right down the center to keep it in place. So that's what I did on that, and sewed all the way around the edge. and I added a scrap piece of fabric here that has been sewn into a snippet roll, and I did a border around that. So these are all the same. I added a little stamp there, and we can always add more stamps later. I was just kind of on a roll. And this is the center of this signature, and what I did is I took some of that same blue lace and I cut a piece just a little bit larger than the center page and sewed around the edges and also sewed down the center. So this is going to be the center of the second signature. And then towards the back, I added another piece of that snippet roll and some blue tulle and sewed around the edges. So what I want to do in these series of tutorials is not only show you some of the ideas and techniques that I use, but I want to not bore you guys with just sewing borders around the edges. So that's why I did that off camera. And this is the third, same deal here, sewed in the ribbon down the center and around the edge. And we did this one in the last tutorial, you know, the stenciling and the creating of the corners. Let's see, what did I do? I added this, and I think I did this in the last video, but I finished by sewing around the edges. I just added a little piece of that ticking fabric to create a side pocket and folded it over the other side, and that creates a pocket on this side with the lace. So that's that. I sewed around the edge of this because it is the thicker piece of paper. And then this is what I came up with the center of my third signature. I got all these little doilies, and they were like safety pinned together. And I thought that was really cool. There was like 10 of them. I mean, sometimes at thrift stores you just score, right? So I laid them in the center, and I like, well, how am I going to do that? Because they weren't quite as wide as the center of my page here. So what I did is I laid them all out. So I've got one here and one here, slightly overlapped in the center. I sewed down the center of that page to hold the doilies in. And I've got a pocket on this side, a pocket on this side, and what I did was I glued the corner of another one of the same doilies and sewed around the edge. I did it on each side, and then on the back, let me flip this over. This is my plan. I didn't want to put another one here. I wanted them to be connected somehow. So what my plan is I sewed in a piece of ribbon that's, you know, used throughout the journal. And on each side, I pinned the ribbon to the, why can't I talk today? Edge of the doily. And what my plan is after this is in the signature and sewn in and everything, I'm going to probably hand sew either a button or an applique, or maybe create, you know, a collaged corner with some fabric, something along those lines. So that's why I have the pins here, is just to hold it in place. So there you have it. Now that is the 3 signatures. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to come back to those in just a minute. So my plan is to do the next step on the cover. And the reason I'm doing it before I'm sewing in my signatures is because once I sew in my signatures, if I don't cover this up, remember the plastic, if I don't cover that up ahead of time, it's going to be really hard to cover up. So what I came up with, and I got to be honest with you guys, when I brought out my 2 inspirational pieces here, if you remember this gorgeous piece of fabric along with this handkerchief, I was thinking to myself, well, what the heck are you going to do with this? Are you going to cut it up? What are you going to do? So I really didn't have the final plan, but I think I came up with it. So what my plan is to cover the inside of my book covers here with some coordinating paper. And what I found on the Graphics Fairy is this gorgeous paper. Oh my God, or actually it's a digital and you print it. Look at that. Is that gonna be pretty or what? Yay. So my plan is I printed 2 and I'm gonna do it, so cut it out so that it's on each side of my book, the journal cover. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this stuff out of the way, hold on a second, and cut these down to size. And what I want to do is make them relatively the same size as the book. So I'm just going to mark these and cut them out. A little pencil mark right there. And then a little pencil mark over here. And I'm going to use my guillotine cutter. If you don't have that, it's, you know, no problem. I just like the way the guillotine cutter makes a very sharp edge. And it's always straight because I am horrible about cutting a straight line. All right, so I'm going to cut this one. And as with all my other steps in my journals, I try to, and whether it works or not is another story, I try to work from the base up. So basically this is going to be the bottom, and look, I didn't even cut straight with the guillotine cutter. Oh man, seriously? Okay. I'm straight line cutting challenged. All right, so what we'll do is we're going to make it exactly a little bit, you know, just a teeny bit shorter than the height of my book cover there. Hold on just a sec. And it really doesn't matter if they're, now that I'm thinking about it, if they're exactly straight, because I'm going to add some fabric on top. So how I like to attach these is with Mod Podge. So I've got different formulations of Mod Podge that I use, and what I like to do for attaching papers to other sheets, or, you know, cardstock or cardboard, or anything you're attaching paper to is what I'm trying to say here. I use Mod Podge paper. I think there's a little bit different formulations of each for each of them, you know, whether it's the gloss or the matte or the paper or the ultra gloss, or, you know, all those different ones. I found that this works really well to adhere paper to stuff, to other things. So, you like that scientific term, stuff? And you want to get a good amount here. Okay, I'm going to position this in the center, and see, what I like too is if there's a little bit of the blue cover showing through, I like that, and so that's why I picked the blue book cover. So then we're going to smush this down, get all the bubbles out with my wallpaper spreader or bone folder or ruler or whatever you have. And on the edges there, I need a little more. And I don't mind the Mod Podge coming over the edge there. Reason being is I am going to add a border of some fabric along the sides, so that's okay if it comes over the edge. Get that down there. That side looks pretty good. I'm going to go to the other side here. This looks really pretty. It's kind of spring-like, and we're right in the dead of winter, so that's going to be a nice break to look at something spring-like. Although I do love all the winter journals I'm seeing out there. They're really, really pretty. All the grays and, you know, off-whites and creams. Oh, so pretty. Man. So many journals to make, so little time. All right, position this one on there. And you know, to be quite honest, you probably won't see any of the blue book, but even if you do, when you're all done, that was my goal. And I guess that's because I'm kind of a matchy person. I was always one of those people that had to have everything match and coordinate. And people are like, I can't believe your workout headband matches your outfit. And I'm like, really? If you know me, then that would not surprise you. Okay, so on top of this, I am going to do a combination of Mod Podge matte, because I don't really want a very shiny surface. This is going to be more, I don't know, vintage looking, so I kind of like less of a sheen, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to do a combination of the matte with a teeny bit of Mod Podge sparkle. Because you know me, I love sparkle. So I kind of do some of the matte, mostly matte, I should say. We're going to go over the top of this. Get the little edges under there. I was on a Mod Podge decoupage kick a couple years ago, and then I'm just going to take a little bit of the sparkle here and go over the top. It just adds a teeny bit of glitter to it. It looks really pretty. So anyways, what I was saying is I was on a decoupage roll a couple years ago, and I did some chairs, I did a bench, I redid a side table. I mean, I was on a roll. And then on top of that, I did do a bunch of chalk painting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. That's really a lot of fun to do. It gives, it's kind of, I don't really want to get into the whole deal, but chalk painting is really fun. It's a paint that you can paint over any type of material pretty much, and you don't have to remove the veneer or the finish if you find an old piece of furniture, which I really like. And then you can, whoops, oh no, come back here. You can distress it as much as you want, and you know, since I love vintage, I love to distress. So I was on a roll, and I've done almost every piece in my house that can be done. And now we have so much furniture I can't do anymore, but that's okay. I've also done some frames, and I don't know, there's an idea. Oh, doing a chalk paint journal cover. Oh no. Oh man, that might be awesome. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I am going to stop the camera for just a moment, and I'm going to dry these real quick with my blow dryer. And what happens usually, now there's the word usually, is there are little bubbles that you can see on the sides. They're like right there, little teeny bubbles. I'm going to blow dry this for a couple minutes, and then once it's almost dry, not totally dry, I'm going to smoosh it down or flatten it out with my wallpaper spreader, and they'll all go away. So I will be right back. So hold on. Okay, everyone, I am back, and look how fabulous that looks. Yay, yay, yay. Oh, and I did want to mention that the type of paper that I just copied this digital on was just regular copy paper. I found that if I copy it onto a heavier weight of paper, it doesn't adhere as well. And for this application, I just like regular copy paper. So from there, I'm going to move this out of the way, even though it is completely dry. And before we add our signatures to the cover, I did want to do another couple things. And these are very simple things that I like to do before I add my signatures in, as I go through and I look at any weird pages that are sticking out too far. And not necessarily that you can't have things sticking out, but to me, I like to cut some of them off, and what I'm going to do is use one of my squiggly scissors, because this one, once the, what am I saying here? The ribbon is tied, it's just going to rub up against that particular sheet of paper, and it'll probably fray and tear it anyways. So that's just what I think about here. And like, for example, this old music sheet, I'm going to cut some off the bottom and some off the top, just because it is so delicate, fragile here. Let's see how that goes. See if this side sticks out at all. No, it doesn't. Is there anything else that sticks out too far? I mean, I do like things that are different widths, but if you know, they're going to get torn and all messed up when you fold up your journal, I don't like that. So that looks pretty good there. So that's something just to think about too. So all these look good. Okay, there's that signature. Let me go through this one. Other things you can do to the pages before you add them into, sew them into your signature, is you can distress the edges, which I don't know if I'm going to do. I might, because it is, you know, I do like the vintage look of the pages, and I think that that just adds that extra cool touch to it. So I'm just cutting these down a little bit. So that one looks really good. Put this back in there. Let's see. I don't think there's any others in this particular signature that stick out too far. Let's see. Yeah, because once you get it all lined up, that looks fine. Okay, so there's that one. See the last one here. There's another one. This one is going to need to be cut down just a little bit. Isn't that pretty? Oh, love that. It's by Duke Ellington, Sophisticated Lady. Ooh, love it, love it. Okay. And this is an optional step. I just like to do it because I like to add some interest to the pages, besides all the other interest I add with everything else, right? Okay, so that looks good. These look good. I think that one, get all those deals out of there. That one looks really good too. Let's see. Yep, that looks good too. All right, so now to decide, do you want, I'm talking to myself here, do I want to distress the edges now, or do I want to do that later? These look pretty distressed, don't you think? Because I am going to add a lot of stuff to some of the pages. So maybe I won't do that here and do some distressing after the signatures are put into the book. But you guys ever seen this? This is a corner punch, and you can get all different sizes of them. I think corner punches are awesome. I may corner punch a couple of the pages here just because I think it makes it look like it is a, I don't know what the word is, professional book. And it just gives added interest again. So, put that one in there. I think that's where it went. Oh, see? See? I don't remember. Let's see, so I did that one. And you can always do that later. It's not a big deal. Let me do this one here. Oops. You got to get it all the way in the corner, right? Or, you know, another thing you could do is you could scallop the edges with some of those punches, like I have a Martha Stewart punch. That would be cool to do too. Oh, yeah. See, there's so many ideas that run through my head. It's like I can't do every idea in every book. I never get done. All right, so let's see. I think we got it now. I may go back and look at some of the others later, but for expediency's sake, I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way, and I'm going to show you how I put together my cover, or the next step. Don't know how far we'll get today, but you know, there's always another day for another video. So here we are back at the decoupaged interior of our cover. And let me show you my thought process here. So here's the outside. Looks kind of, right? Of course. So back to my pieces. I didn't know how I was going to use this or this, but this is what I came up with. I'm going to do some layering again. And I do want the inside of this plastic covered. So what I did off camera is I picked a coordinating fabric that you know, I think looks pretty. Let me move this light. It's getting to be late in the day and the sun is changing here, so I gotta finagle my lights around. Okay, let's see. What I did is I cut a piece of this particular fabric, which is, you know, my inspiration for this whole thing, these two pieces, and I cut it a little bit wider than the spine. So if you remember, the spine is 2 inches, so I've got about 1/4 on each side. So this piece of fabric is probably 2.5 to 3 total width. Let me see, where's my ruler? Oh, it's almost 4. Holy moly. All right. So, yep, I made it bigger. And really, it doesn't matter how wide you make this piece, just so long as it covers this plastic. And there's different ways to attach this. What my thoughts were on this particular one is to just have this material on the inner spine. On the outer cover, I'm going to do something different. Now, what I've done in other journals is I've made a strip that is twice as long, and I folded it in half, and I went along the outside also. I'm not going to do that particular method today, and you'll see why in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this to the plastic, and I'm going to use the trusty Fabrifix again. Ah, sticky, sticky. All right, so we're going to get, again, a big set of globs here, big amounts. And I'm going to go outside of the plastic because my piece of fabric is larger. Okay, get a lot going here. All right. And gotta make sure my bird is right side up. So as my flowers are going up, so my bird is gonna be on the same side. He's gonna be going up too. And then press him down. I left a little bit on the top edge and a little bit on the bottom. Now get my wallpaper spreader again. This is my skinny one. And just go right along so it goes in the seam. All right. And I made it pretty, yeah, I made it pretty even so that there's enough on each, same amount on each side. Now I can already tell I need more on this side, so you want to just go back in there. And while Fabric Fix is permanent, before it dries you can really get in there and maneuver it around. So I should have mentioned before, you want to get a lot in the crease. Go right along there, and then we're going to smush it down, because when you fold it, you want your fabric to go in that crease. See, like that, right along there. So that works good. So we'll do the other side here. Let's see how that is. Whoops. This needs more. I got it pretty good on that seam, that crease, so that's good. Get along there too. Go in on the seam again. Where is the seam? I was following another seam. What am I doing here? All right, there's the seam. Push it all down. Now before it dries, I like to fold both sides up, and to see if you can see that, let me see if I can get that to the camera here, that it's laying flat in the center, meaning it's lying down without any bubbles. Okay, that looks really good, you guys. Love that. Oh, this is so pretty. Oh, man. All right, so now I'm going to flip it over. And we're going to flip these two edges up and secure them down. Oh, you guys, like I said, you never know, or I never know what the finished product is going to be, but I absolutely love just how things come together. And a lot of times, I don't know if you guys do this, but while I'm right in the middle of creating something, I've got stickies on my hands, is I'm like, oh, I don't know, you know, this isn't looking the way I wanted, or, oh, I don't know how, I don't know if this was a good idea. And I don't second guess myself, but I end up thinking too much. And I gotta tell you, it doesn't do me any good, because now I'm gonna pull this tight, make it pretty tight. Every thing that I've created, every journal that I've made, you know, I've felt that at one time or another during the journal process. And I gotta tell you, I've overcome it every single time. And I'm just like, just go with it. Don't overthink it. Just put it together. And if there is, whoops, so you gotta make sure my birds are right side up. Just put it together, and if there's something you don't like, it's okay. It's just a junk journal. I mean, not just a junk journal, but you know what I'm saying. It's a book with some fabric on it. It's okay if you need to tear something out, or, you know, make something different, or, you know, start over if you want. It's okay, and that's what I always need to tell myself. So that being said, I'm liking this. Okay, now from here, let's see. I think we're going to do the outside of the cover. Here's my plan. The reason I didn't bring this all the way up is I'm going to use this ticking as my cover for the whole front of the journal. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So what I did was I cut a piece of my ticking and I left about, let's see, since I'm not good at gauging stuff, an inch on each, inch to inch and a half on each side. So I've got a piece of my ticking fabric that is going to fit over the whole thing. What I'm going to do, now see, this is where I'm saying it doesn't really even matter that I had a blue book because it's going to be covered up anyways. But that's okay because, like I said at the beginning, I didn't know what I was going to do. But that's okay. All right, so this is the plan. It's going to come over like that. Get that string out of there and fold under, right? And this is how I'm going to use this handkerchief. Let's see which side is the front. It's really hard to tell on this particular one. I think it's this side because the blue is more vibrant. I'm going to bring this across, and I want this to be the front and center of the journal. Meaning, you know, this is ta-da, this is it. So I'm going to fold that over, and I'm going to fold this over, and then I don't know if I'm going to cut the excess off. I have not determined that yet, but I like the way the ticking shows through, but it doesn't detract from this gorgeous pattern. So that's what I'm gonna do. But in the meantime, that is not gonna happen right now. What I'm gonna do is I am going to glue this onto my journal cover. All right, so I'm gonna flip this baby over. It doesn't matter which side is up on this, as long as I get my ticking stripes relatively straight, which, you know, for me could be an issue. Ah, man. All right, come on. Gotta get this going here. So I don't know how many segments this tutorial is going to be, because this is the first hardcover or hardback journal that I've done a tutorial on. I have done some fabric ones, so I'm thinking maybe 2 more in this series, so there'll be a total of 5. But don't hold me to that, because you never know. All right, so I am going to get this secured down here. All right. Okay, let's see what I got going here. Do I have enough on each side? Yep, feels pretty good. All right, now, before it gets set, meaning the fabric tag, I want to make sure that it's flat along the spine, which it is, and that the front and the back are also flat without any bubbles. Oh, look, I did pretty good. Now, is that straight? Yeah, looks pretty dang good, you guys. Yay! So there's that. That looks fabulous. All right, we're going to go around the edges to get these secure. And then I'll show you how I'm going to make the corners. And then maybe in the series, I'll add all the signatures in. and I'll show you how I do that. I am going to use the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, which is a pretty standard one for me, and it just, to me, it just works. You know, I love all the fancy exposed spines and all of the, you know, the intricate binding techniques, and I want to learn that someday, but not today. So I'm pulling this really tight, and I like the way this is frayed on the edge. I think that looks really cool. All right, I am going to cut this doodad off here because I don't like that. It's a little too much action going there. Okay, I'll go on the other side, do the same thing. I got some glue going. Now this side is not as frayed, so I'm going to have to run my finger across here and get some fray action going. I think it's just because that one has been cut longer, and I mean cut for a longer amount of time, and it just has begun to curl up, whereas this one I just cut earlier today. So that's the deal with that. I'm just going to pull these off there. And I have seen people use other methods, but since I have nails, works pretty good. Right, cut off, whoops, bonk the camera, these little guys. Pull that over, and I can probably get that to fray some more if I wanted it to. It's looking good. It looks really good. Now this guy is curvy and this one isn't. Things you run into. I'll just kind of curl that guy up and see what happens. I bet you he'll stay. Bet you he'll stay. Get him curved. Okay, what's that? Oh, it's just a piece of paper. All right, so there is the beginnings of the cover. Now, what we're going to do on the corners is we're going to cut off the extra fabric and just make a good mitered corner, even though trust me, I am not scientific about this at all. So what I do is, the way I think about it is I'm wrapping a present. So if I just wrap it over like that, right, you got all this extra. So I want to cut that off right along the side there. So if I cut that off, got it going that way. So let's see, or do I want it going this way? I think that's what I'll do. Now what I do is I cut a diagonal, and I feel the end of the journal cover right there, and I go outside, not right to the edge, but a little beyond the corner, and just cut that off. And it's okay if you don't do it exactly right, because I've done that, trust me on that, and then you have a little bit of the corner peeking through. That's okay too. And then I'm going to cut off this little edge, this little straight right there. So see, you have a little corner like that. We'll do that on this side. So there again, add a diagonal, and you start a little bit longer than the edge of your book. Just put a little triangle out there, and then cut that off. Yay. All right, now we're going to add some glue here and get that folded over. Yeah, and I have cut it too short, and then there's some like stuff sticking out, but you know what? There again, there is no mistakes. You can just color the corner, or you can add some fabric onto the outside. Why is this not going? I think it's getting, I'm gonna have to add some more nail polish remover. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this really tight along the side there, and that looks fabulous. Just pull it up tight, go along the edge here, and then we'll go along this side. All right, now before I do this one, I got to cut this edge. So remember, we're going from the corner out at a diagonal, a little bit further than the end here. Cut that off. Because I found that if you don't do the cutting of the edges, you get a very thick corner. And I think that is hard to secure down. Okay, so we're going to fold this up, get that pulled in. And that looks really, really good, you guys. And knowing me, I will probably add some final embellishments to the inside cover, because that's just what I do. So this is definitely not complete. All right, the last corner here. What am I doing here? I like to look at it a certain way so that it gives me the same view as the other ones. So we're going to cut at a diagonal again. And cut this little guy off. Then we're going to glue that one. And we'll go all the way across this time. Because I got my corners ready. They are ready. I always go back after I glue something like this, and if there's any, you know, edges that look kind of weird or still sticking up, just go back and add some more glue to them. But this definitely gives us a start. Fold it up real tight. This looks really cool, you guys. Get that down, that little edge there. All right. Yay! Oh, yay! Look at our cover. Ta-ta-da! Looking fab. And see on the edges there? I'm going to glue those down just a little bit. And look, just what I said. There's a little corner there. Oh no! I cut it too close. Dang it! Those are fine. And I'm going to pull those a little tighter just to get that in there. Maybe what I can do on this one, since it's not quite dry yet, is pull the fabric a little tighter. Yep, that's what you can do, you guys, is pull it a little tighter onto the edge. And I betcha you won't see that as much. All right. And then this one, I'm going to pull it up tighter. I like my corners to be pretty neat. That one looks great. That one is fab. Let's see about this one. Yep, just pull it tight. So tight that I'm making the stripe not even. maybe that's another, well, I know, not maybe, I know that's a reason I like junk journals so much, is because you don't have to be perfect. Although some of the ladies out there are just awesome. They just, I mean, whew, very precise. And I think it's just everyone's different personality and style. But I'm always impressed with that. But, okay, so move that out of the way. Here's what we did today. Yay, yay, yay. And then, remember what we're going to do. And I might not do this till the very end, well, almost the very end, is I'm going to position this over the front and the top. And I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that, if I'm going to do it at an angle or if I'm going to do it straight across the center. I don't know. But you and I will figure it out together. So that's the beginnings of the cover. And what we'll do is we'll get all of our signatures. And if you remember, I want this blue one with the blue border here to be one on the beginning, the first signature, then the lace covered one in the center, and then the other blue border one to be the back signature, or the third, whatever you want to say. So these guys are going in there. And then we're going to have all these cute little ties coming out. Doesn't that look cool? Yay! So that's where we're at. So the next video, my plan is to attach the signatures to the spine, and then we're going to continue on with making some embellishments, some ephemera, and we're going to get to the extra fun stuff of decorating this beauty. So thanks for hanging with me, and the next tutorial will be up in a day or so. So thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye.